This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I'm a non-lean, drinking and eating machine. It's week 13, baby. Let's fucking go.
This show might be a bit more loose than people are used to, by the way.
So that was very much off the cusp.
Aussie?
Matty's come down with a touch of the sore throats after a massive choke in starts of the week last week.
Just coming off the back of a win over Talor last week, so...
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
NFL?
There was a porn star joke that I'm sure went down real well on the podcast.
And I like that because I'm a tight end man, both in real life and NFL football.
Fantasy.
My goodness, send him to the fucking Chinese football league.
There's a bit of foreskinning for the Saturday GDAY GRIDIRON show.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I'm not Matty C, so it's not going to be as...
It's one of your best qualities.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans. Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back. You're listening to the Aussie Gridiron Network, and this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. They call me Ian, and I'm still not Matty C. I'm still filling in for Matty this week as he's on his bye week before the run home in starts of the week. With me tonight is my partner in crime this week on AGN Podcasts. I probably should have got him on the G'day Gridiron Saturday show just to hear his voice all week. He's Australia's finest fantasy analyst, loves breakdancing but would break a floor. It's none other than Talor Stun Gun Goodall.
Mate, absolutely stoked to be back again. We can't get enough of each other this week, Ian. It's been fantastic. It's almost like it was written in the stars that Matty C was going to get mouth aids this week. I'm wondering if you fucking sent him an envelope with some of it in it. But, mate, whatever happened, it's great to be on another podcast with you, and can't wait to talk to our guest again. And look, honestly, I just can't wait to beat the shit out of you guys in starts of the week. It's going to be just the cherry on top.
It's not my fault if Matty opens up envelopes for it and he doesn't know where they're from, okay? That's all I'm saying. He should have seen it coming, to be honest. Back again, of course, as Talor just foreskinned, because he didn't suffer through enough nonsense on this show, is Adam O'Grady. G'day, mate.
Thank you, sir. Great to be back.
Sir, Jesus Christ, we've gone formal now.
we all suddenly have tuxedos.
We do have tuxedos. Matty, put us in tuxedos on the socials, please.
A little bit fancy.
A little bit fancy here at the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. All right. Well, I've gone off the rails already. We're 2 minutes into the fucking show.
There's no rails. There is no rails.
Oh, God. This is amazing. All right, we got to reach deep into the ball bag. I mean, mailbag, and pull out some questions out of the bag for this week. And, of course, we are going to have a shot at starts of the week. Matty's not here. Matty is in front. I get to pick Matty's team.
Oh,
what an amazing time this is, Talor.
Oh, it's a great time to be alive. Any time I don't have to hear him talk about his starts for the week team is fucking blessing.
Yeah, so of course it just means Matty's going to blame me when they fail, but we'll go from there. We'll just see how many Vikings players I can jam in with this week.
Here comes Josh Oliver.
Yeah, you want to rag on my tight ends? Here we go.
4 tight ends.
All right. I guess it's time for some questions from the mailbag.
Where's the mailman? Need some advice?
Would you rather have a small slice of a lovely cake?
Who has the mail?
Or would you rather a huge piece of a dog shit cake?
Thanks to your questions at Pastry Press NFL. And Aussie NFL Fantasy.
I guess this is kind of a shit cake, but it can be a decent cake too.
We've got first up at Industrial Pig. Who makes up these fucking names? Seriously. Industrial Pig, whatever. If you have the big name back now, like a Saquon or CMC or any of those, and look good for a playoff run, do you want their handcuff or other owners' top RB handcuffs? I think you've talked about RB handcuffs previously, haven't you, Tay?
Yeah, a lot. It definitely comes up at this point of the year as well, because you don't really need to be worrying so much about, like obviously getting that insurance back when you're pretty certain you're going to be in the playoffs. It just means more now, I think. I know that I've actually done it with both of my running backs in Astro, but to be fair, like not all leagues are made the same, and obviously in Astro it's fucking impossible to get a running back if you lose one. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to handcuff both of mine, and because both of them kind of have a clear one, which obviously helps. And those two you just named are literally my starters, and Saquon and CMC. So I was able to sort of do that. But yeah, like league size, bench size, it all sort of comes into play. But if I'm looking like I'm going to make the playoffs, I'm a huge proponent of doing it, because at this point, I think it makes sense to just insure yourself for the playoff run. You're probably pretty happy with your team, so I don't think you need to be going out there sourcing other people's backups and trying to like push to like hopefully get that 5% chance that it makes your team better. I think at this point you're better off just like knowing you're in the playoffs, locking it up and getting that insurance back. I understand early in the year taking shots on other people's, backups and stuff, because at that point you don't know what ceiling you need. Obviously, you're just looking to try and make your team as good as possible. So you want to obviously have a higher ceiling on your team, so you go after other people's backups, not just ensuring your own, because you don't help ceiling the team doing that way. But I think if you're going into the playoffs, just insure you guys. I think it's going to help you in the long run. If they don't get injured, you're stoked anyway because your starters haven't gotten injured. And if they do, you've got that guy to step in. So me, personally, I like doing it.
Ads, have you got shares of any of these big name backs in your team?
I've got Achan and Cook in my other league, so they're like my two. I don't have their backups. Mainly just because my wide receivers have fallen to pieces in the other leagues. But the other part that I would say is if you're going to have backups for guys when you're making a run for the finals, have the backups for the dudes that you're actually playing against. So if their players go down, they can't make their teams better. That would be about the only other way that I'd go about it.
And that's very specific to bench size. Like if you've got like 4 spots, you're probably not going to be able to do both.
No, you can't.
If you've got
can't
like 7 or something, that gives you the opportunity to do that. But that's a good tactic. Like, all of a sudden you're against someone and they lose their guy, and you're just sitting there fucking laughing. You don't even have to play that guy, but they can't. Yeah. So
it's because most likely the backup for a team's not going to make your team any better. You're not going to play them over the guys that you've already got in your team.
But you're playing defense against them.
Yeah, it's basically just to hurt their team if you're playing them in finals.
It's a big fuck you to them. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great strategy, isn't it? At Breezy Promotion, someone dropped Laporta. I've been rolling with Ertz. Throw in a waiver claim. Am I ever starting him?
Yes. I think so. Like, it's still like they're playing this Thursday as well. And Amon-Ra's got a little bit of a injury cloud over himself. And if either Amon-Ra or Jameson Williams go down, then he's going to be stepping up, because they didn't have Williams last year, and he was an absolute beast. And he's not scoring 0 each week. He's still getting targeted. It's just his touchdowns just regressed massively.
Pour one out to anyone that fucking used that second round draft capital on him, because it was probably the worst fucking pick in fantasy. I could not have talked up more not to do it. Like I thought it was just the worst pick you could make. Like his touchdown variance last year was insane. Like, and especially for a rookie. But I know the Lions have an awesome offense, but the fact was the guy just had unsustainable touchdown rate, especially for how many targets he was getting. And you've just seen this year, they don't need him. They just have so many ways of winning games. They just don't. In fact, they don't need him. But to answer the question, I'm with Ads. I would still go and pick him up, because it's just like he's free. You're not paying that second round price anymore. You're just paying a fucking waiver claim to get him. Ertz can disappear in games as well, so it's not like you've just got this guaranteed guy that's like giving you production tight end already.
And I think
Laporta's a chance of having a big game, and like you said, if a couple of guys go down or even one, you've got the starting tight end of the best offense in the league. I think that's too hard to pass up. So for free, I would take the shot.
Yeah, and I also think that Ertz with Washington, like their offense is slowly regressing.
The Kingsbury cliff. They're falling off.
They start hot and then just fall to complete crap.
Yeah. Brad brought that up a couple of weeks ago on GDAY GRIDIRON, actually. The fact that he was worried about that Cliff Kingsbury cliff, as you just termed it, Tay, that it was basically going to go nowhere.
Yeah, they always blame Kyler for the Call of Duty thing, but in the end, it was probably just Cliff sucking up the second half of the year. Look, it was probably both, let's be honest, but yeah, it's just hilarious that it was pretty much always Kyler getting brought up, but in the background, behind the scenes, it's just Cliff. And it even goes back to, like, college, I think it was, that he has horrendous, like, second half of the year. It was like every fucking coaching gig he's had, his teams have gone to shit in the second half. Like,
yeah, people that they figure out his scheme essentially, and he doesn't change. So.
Yeah, he got asked a question by a reporter where they basically said, "Look, this is what's been happening. Are you going to do anything to change?" And he's like, "Look, I haven't seen those numbers, but no, I'm not changing anything." He just basically walked himself into the narrative.
All right, one more from @73beards.
Oh, not enough
beards. Obey the beard. How do we feel about Richardson now? Who would you start him over in a standard 10-team league? We had a bit of a chat about Richardson earlier this week, Tay, on the GDAY GRIDIRON reactions show, him versus Young. How do you feel? Would you start him over anyone in a standard 10-team league right now?
No, I would start him over the 10 team. There's no way.
Yeah.
I remember about 5 weeks ago, I got a question about a start sit between him and someone else, and I said Richardson shouldn't even be on your team. Like, he should be in waivers. Like, he just hasn't been. He hasn't even had the rushing baseline to be sustainable, even in fantasy. Like, he has now. Like, he's looked okay in his first 2 games back, but in those first 4 or 5 games before he got benched, he wasn't being used in the rushing game at all. It's like they were trying to preserve him. And the problem is he doesn't have the arm talent to sustain himself outside of the rushing attempts. So he just was not useful at all. He should have been on waivers. And, yeah, 10-team, honestly, there's easily 10 guys you'd start week to week over him. So, yeah, look, to the Bryce Young thing, probably start Richardson, honestly. I know Bryce looked fine last week, but yeah, I think there's still rushing baseline upside for Richardson. He's got a decent matchup, I know, this week. So I would start him over Bryce, but over like the top 10 guys in a 10-team league, no, I'm not starting him over anyone.
Absolutely fair enough. I think it's a pretty it's almost a rhetorical question, really.
Yeah.
The way Richardson's been playing. So,
like, if we brought up a bunch of names around quarterback 14, 15, 16 and worked them out, I think there's a chance you'd probably maybe start Richardson over some of those guys. But, top 10. No,
I think
top 10. Top 10's too high.
Yeah. I think it's tough. If you were I think, just for me personally, if you were in a smaller Superflex league, like a 10 or a 12-team Superflex league, I still think it'd be tough to start him as your Superflex, because there's still other guys out of those 32 starting quarterbacks right now, that you could probably be a safer bet at getting at least like 12, 13 points from.
Pocket pass and stuff, you're probably right, depending on the scoring. League settings matter too. Like, I'm in a league with like 6 points for a rushing touchdown, only 4 for a passing, and just like rushing baseline is just boosted a lot. So like leagues like that, I picked up Richardson as a third quarterback, even with only 4 bench spots, because of that rushing baseline helping your team, just in case like all of a sudden he came back and looked all right. So yeah, it matters your league settings, I think.
Plus, you've got to think he's got a bye next week as well.
Yeah, which obviously doesn't help.
All right, wonderful. That's the mailbag for this week. Some great questions. And, of course, if you want to send in any questions for the mailbag segment for future weeks, you can find all the links to the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show socials at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Head on there. You can find links to everything related to AGN. And, of course, the Fantasy Show socials. You hit guys up there. Send in your questions. And Tay and Matty and whoever's sitting in this third seat, maybe even the fourth seat, will react to them and just give you a little bit of advice from some of the best fantasy analysts in the world, and definitely the best in the country. All right, boys. It's the time of the night, that time of the show. It's what we're all here for. Starts of the week.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
In the beginning there was nothing, a featureless void. From the formless primordial state, a legend was born when forces combined to create a solid object of significant value. As planets were formed and Earth itself was shaped, the object lay awaiting its destiny. Seas rise and fall, mountains emerge, and upon the highest mountain, an intrepid adventurer happens upon the object. A worthy prize for ascending this, the tallest of peaks. This object has been documented to be held by many of the great dynasties of mankind, from the Persians to the Hans, the Mongols and the Ottomans, lives lost defending it from those who seek to possess it. Now it is in the trust of 3 wise men who also reach such pinnacles, to be held by he who imparts the most astute knowledge upon fellow mankind. The winner of the annual Aussie NFL Fantasy Show Starts of the Week.
Righto. Let's just do a quick recap on last week. Let me have a look at the points. Who got first, Taylor?
Geez, I'm going to have to think.
Going to have to think. There was some bloke that started some guy that ended up with 28 points in like the first game of the week, wasn't it?
I think so, mate. I heard there was a guy that basically outscored the other two combined. It was a pretty big week for him. And, you know, people are saying he's just got the best ceiling out of any team, even if he fucking was coming last on the scoreboard. I don't know. That's what the people are saying, Ian. But, look, in the end, you know, a lot of foreskin here, flappy foreskin, but I end up with about 87 points, which is fucking huge in this segment. Normally you can try and win with about 40. And so to get 87 points out of 4 players that are all starting less than 50% of leagues was a pretty massive win. Obviously, I had Bucky Irving score fucking 28 points in the running back position. Jerry Jeudy got me 14 or so, which was a pretty good start to the week, honestly. Everyone just sort of did all right. Like, Gino was probably my biggest letdown, if there really was one, but even he scored fine. Like, it was...
Yeah.
It was
even Gino got 14.36 on the week anyway, so, yeah.
And Jono. We all know what fucking happened with Jono. So that was just it was just one of those weeks. I've had weeks like this a lot this year where when I've won, I've fucking dominated. Like, I had a 90-something point week as well. And that's why, like you'll probably get to in a sec, I've got the best aggregate out of everyone. It's just been not consistent. I've had a lot of weeks where I just sort of haven't. I have just lost a second and got the third placing with the 1 point. And then I have these random breakout weeks where I end up fucking with 80 or 90 points. It's just, I just try and find consistency. I'd rather have 50 every week than go 30, 30, 30, 90. So it's just about the consistency.
Yeah, so, of course, Talor scored 87.16 on the week. Quinny came in second with 40.38. Amazingly, he had one guy in Madison out injured before the games even started, and then he got an absolute 0 from another player this week. So out of 2 players, Quinny scored 40.38 and still beat Matty, who ended up with 39.62, where Matty had a fair... you have to be fair, Tay. He had a pretty decent-looking team on paper, but they absolutely shit the bed in terms of production this week. So it totally ruined him.
Fair. I'm not here to be fair to Matty, and his team sucked ass, and there's no two ways about it. So
it did.
Nothing fair to Matty.
Nothing fair to Matty at all. I know. So that still leaves... Matty is still on front in points, 27 points. Taylor moves to 22. World is at 22, so there's a tie for second there. And, of course, you talked about the aggregate. Taylor's on 598.16 on aggregate, about 40-odd points ahead of Matty on 559, and the World coming in last, 540.64, which means we got a little bit of ground to make up here as the world guys, and the guy who's standing in for the World this week. Can you make up a bit, please? Because I'm on next week for the World, so I'd like to not have to make up so much. So better job, please. Better job, please, this week, Ads.
Yeah, no dramas.
Maybe a running back that's actually playing. That would also obviously be
that will help.
That would be an amazing start. Let's just put it that. I heard... Tay, I was listening to that pod, and as soon as Alexander Madison came out of Quinny's mouth, I was like, oh, that's not good.
And straight away I said to him, he's 100% questionable. By the way, you don't get a backup if he doesn't play. You're 100% reading a 0. I was like trying to talk him out of it. I was like, even though, like, obviously we're trying to win, I was like, well, I don't want him to come on and pick someone that's not going to play. And then he still went with it. I'm like, fuck, you're in all sorts here.
Yeah, so it wasn't real good. All right, Tate, you got the win, which means you get to pick the order for this week. What are we going?
Been toying up. I'm like, do I have a? Because what I've often said is, I'm more than happy if I have a guy I have huge conviction on in any of the positions. I just go first. I just take it and I wait it out. There isn't. I don't think there's really one guy I'm really, really keen on this week. So sort of some depth in a lot of positions. So I didn't think I was going to put myself one. I'm just sort of toying between 2 and 3. But what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put the world at 1. Put all the world on Adzy's shoulders over there. I'm going to go put myself at 2 in the meat in the sandwich, and I'm going to put Matty / Ian on the turn at the arsehole end.
And I should preface, actually, it is Matty's picks here at the Matty end. I asked Matty to make sure that he gave me the list of players that he's looking at each position, and a little bit of guidance here. So I'll be picking from Matty's. He's got like 4 or 5 at each position that I can choose from. It is me making a pick, but it's definitely Matty's research. So I'm going to preface that so that he can't just blame me when I pick the wrong person and they tank.
And just a reminder, I mean, Bucky Irving probably wasn't going to be available anyway, but obviously Talor talk guys are ruled out, so there's no Drake May, Hunter Henry, Jordan Addison, and Bucky Irving, just in case any of those guys are ruled.
Yeah, Roger.
And just also another reminder there, adds QB, wide receiver, running back, tight end.
In any order.
In any order.
Order.
Yeah, it is a snake draft, so we're sort of moving on that way as well. So,
and this is where Matty C would do some bullshit about you and Ian somehow boxing me out and taking guys, which doesn't make any sense each week when he says it. So I just thought I'd bring that out there just to give him shit.
Yeah. And I'll take Matty to task on that next week when he thinks he's going to say the same thing to me, even though, as we can all clearly see, Matty is in front.
Right, well, Adzy's on the clock.
Right, Ads. Yeah,
right.
First overall pick, Ads. Where are we going? What position and who are you going with?
Let's go with running back.
Yeah.
And the guy that I'm looking at here is probably got a damn good matchup. Rico Dowdle.
Yes, he is on my list, 100%. And it was probably one of these ones where when we got told we couldn't have, well, Matty didn't want us to take Thanksgiving players. I was like, no, I want to fucking take Rico Dowdle. So that's actually a really good pick.
So there we go. Yeah, I'll take Dowdle. Had a pretty solid week last week with like 86 yards. So I think against the Giants-led Tommy DeVito team, I reckon he'll do all right.
I reckon that's a really good pick. He went on Sleeper, he was at 44% this morning, so it's one of those ones that, look, could he drip over 50 at some stage? Maybe, but that's not really what we give a shit about. We're just trying to stop anyone from, like, all of a sudden being at, like, 70-odd or something, whereas I don't think Rico Dowdle's going to be anywhere near that. So
he's currently
100% fits.
He's currently sitting at 37% started.
It's gone down.
So
there you go. I guess that makes sense because guys are coming back from bye, so there's a chance that guys like a Rico Dowdle or 44%, they might go down because they're going to get pushed out by guys that are coming off bye. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's looking good there. Good pick there. Tay, you're up next.
I'll go to a different position. I had 2 guys I actually liked at this position. I'm actually going to leave that position. I'm going to go to tight end, and I'm just going to take the guy who constantly has the biggest fucking upside at his position. I'm going to take Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. I was considering taking him. I was considering taking him first.
More and more involved. And it's kind of insane that you think going tight end in your first round pick, but I just think he's got the upside to just win you a week. And he's so involved. He literally plays every position for him. I know we say that all the time, but since this coaching change, they seem to love him even more, and they just don't have anyone else. They have no receivers anymore. It's basically MVS and fucking him. He has to be a tight end, and he has to be a running back. And he fucking steps into quarterback too. It's just absurd. I just think he's got too much upside in this.
He's also, 34 years old?
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't show it, though.
Yeah, he's like the workhorse now, though. He's playing. He was he was playing special teams a couple of weeks ago, and he was he was punt blocking. Oh, just like they had him everywhere. It was just insanity.
Literally does everything.
He literally does everything. All right. I'm on Matty's pick. Now the stress ramps up. Az has taken a running back. You've taken a tight end.
Surprisingly.
Damn you for taking the tight end. I was going to go tight end with my first pick just because of the way tight end is. Taysom was on his list too, by the way, but down the list, surprisingly. I think it's because he was coming off the bye, but he is 19% started right now. He has moved up.
Yeah, and he was 25% in that massive game he had before the bye. Like, that's what I generally go off. Like, could he be a bit higher than 25? Maybe, but yeah. I don't think he's going to be able to.
He was 3% earlier today when Matty sent me this list, and he's at 19 now. So he is trending up, but as you say, I don't think he'll go over. All right, so I've got a lot of the board open to me there then, and he's got a lot of good picks on this list. Not fond of the running back group. There's a few good QBs here.
Arseholes, isn't it, a running back?
Yeah, there's a few good QBs on here, which I might just have a quick look at a couple on terms of start percentage just to make sure they're not over now. Ooh, it's a hard decision. It's also the same with wide receiver.
What normally happens is if you look at a guy's percentage in the morning, generally you've got to look at it again at night to see if it's gone over. But it's actually kind of different this week with bye players coming back. It actually kind of goes the other way. It's like I actually feel like a lot of the percentages you looked at in the morning, if it's not a guy coming off bye, actually might go down because all of a sudden it's not bye apocalypse anymore. It's no one on bye. So some of these guys that are 40% might actually end up 30.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm going to go with QB. I like these QB that Matty's suggested here. I've had a look at a few of them and a few others as well. But there's one guy that's really standing out to me, and he seems to be a bit of a staple for starts of the week over the years. And I think he's going to have a very good matchup against the Saints this week, and that is, of course, Matt Stafford. So I'm going Matt.
Is he on your list, Rams fan?
No, he wasn't. I'm looking at.
He wasn't on mine either. I don't know why. There's been this weird thing with me and Stafford. Like, I've actually got him in a few leagues, and he kind of, even though he's been more consistent, obviously having Puka and Cooper, it still goes on and off. I don't know what it is. Like, he had that game against, was it the Dolphins, when he just
Miami
going, and I didn't quite understand it. But then obviously as it bounces back the week after. I don't know. It's hard to trust him, I guess.
But that game was complete balls until the last 5 minutes.
I'll give you the credit though, Ian. This matchup's fucking far better than that Miami one. So I guess that, and it's indoors. I would not be surprised if Stafford has an awesome game.
And that's why I was sort of leaning that way amongst these other guys that he's got on the list there. I think Stafford's been in some of those more favourable matchups. He's pretty good for somewhere between 18 and 24 points. So it's not too bad. And against the Saints, I mean, pretty good. He was 34% started earlier today. He's now down to 30, so he's trending down as well. And I guess people are a little bit scared of that. Same as what you guys are saying, a bit skeptical on this just the sort of yo-yo nature, I guess. But against New Orleans, in a dome, I think it's ready to go. So I think the wide receivers will be playing better too. So he'll be thrown everywhere. So Matt Stafford for Matty. Now we're on the turn, and there's a couple of guys. He's got some really high percentage wide receivers for earlier today, and that seems to be what the trend has been with wide receivers at the moment too, mate. It's a lot of guys that all hang around that 40% started.
Yep.
So, and it's hard to sort of, I guess, choose, or hard to know if they're going to jump over. But he's got one guy on here that I would be a little bit scared that would actually go over. He's got a really favourable matchup, but I can't trust it. No, just knowing the matchup he's got, I don't know if I trust him not to go over. So I don't want to go that way. You know what? I'm going to chuck him out there, and you guys can tell me whether you think he'll go over, and that is Jordan Addison.
So
you can't.
Whoa. Let's go again.
It's
part of Taylor talk.
Oh, he was too, wasn't he? Forgot about that. That's my bad. That's written down there too. That's good. That rules that shit out. So I'll just go with the next one that I was actually thinking of, and that is Jerry Judy.
So classic. Literally the top of my list. I had him last week. Do you know, the only thing that gave me pause this week is because they're playing the Broncos, I always worry about the number one option getting taken out by Surtain. It's the only thing I was worried about.
I don't know. I think his connection at the moment, just the way that they've been playing in Cleveland, I think just the last couple of weeks with Jameis, just there's a definite connection with Jameis, like whether they love each other. I love it, and I don't know. I have this. It's middling quarterbacks draw me into teams, and I hate it because I think the Browns are a terrible franchise. But I just love Jerry Judy with Jameis. So yeah, I'm all in on that, and I think Matty was high on it too. He was 43% started. He's trending down too. So everything's happening this week. Tay.
I said this last week that I almost kind of feel like Judy is matchup proof a little bit because of Jameis, because Jameis doesn't give a fuck who he's playing against or in any situation. He just passes the shit out of it. And that's why I took him last week against Pittsburgh. Obviously, I didn't know it was going to snow as well, but I didn't care so much that Pittsburgh wanted an easy defense to obviously target because I just thought there was going to be that much volume. And Judy plays like nearly all the snaps, so he's just always a chance to get something. So, yeah, I basically had two wide receivers I was most high on, and he was one of them. And that's why I let that go to you, wide receiver, because I thought you can only take one. And I'm like, if you take one of them, it actually might make my decision easier on the other. And I might as well go into it. I'm going to take Keenan Allen up against the Lions.
Wow. Yeah, righto.
Target share at the moment's insane. I trust the Bears more since the coaching, like the OC change. They seem to have at least sort of changed it up a little bit. Obviously, their offensive line still sucks, but where you beat the Lions has to be a pass funnel situation. They have to pass. They cannot run the ball against the Lions, so they're going to have to get it through the air. And I just think the 15 targets you saw, Keenan Allen, if that's even close to prescriptive, I just think you're going to PPR your way to a very decent score here.
Yeah, he was amazing against Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of becoming that safety blanket I thought he was always going to be for Caleb. It's just taken a while. Obviously, Waldron going just seems to have helped the passing offense completely. Like, you're even seeing DJ Moore and Adunze actually look all right too. So, yeah, if that keeps happening, I just think Keenan Allen's going to be a big part of it.
You just got to really hope he doesn't get that under 10-point performance that he's sort of gotten on other weeks where even though he gets 10 targets, he'll only end up with 7 points, yeah?
That's what this segment is, mate. Like, you just got to – there's a chance that's going to happen for anyone. So I just thought Keenan Allen's the best chance to get enough targets to PPR his way over 10.
All right, it's back to you. Tay and I have taken our wide receivers. I've taken a QB. Tay's taken his tight end. So you got a bit of flexibility in at least one position there. You don't necessarily have to go wide receiver yet.
No, I think wide receiver last. I'll be going QB then tight end here.
Oh, righto. Hit us with your QB first.
QB, who I'll take this week, who I think just coming off a bye, had 2 bad games beforehand. Kirk Cousins.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. He's another staple of this segment. Seems to pop up a fair bit. Matty seems to like him more than anyone else.
Yeah, I think he'll pop off this week. Just coming back off a bye, team's going to be looking good. Fix it out the kinks, and then Kirk also down at SoFi in it's basically a dome. I think he'll be all right.
No, they're at home actually. It's not in LA. It's in Atlanta. Yeah,
still a dome.
Yeah.
If anything,
it's still a dome.
It's been awesome at home and not so good away, and I guess it probably is more to do with the whole dome thing. But either way, he's going to be pretty good in this matchup, you would think.
Yeah,
Charlie's funny on defense though.
I just can't get that that's the 9% started thing still for Cousins. It was like that through last year with Minnesota. Like, no one would trust him, and he was good for 25 points a week. Yeah, it was just astounding to me. Righto, Kirk Cousins at the lettuce sandwich.
Now tight end, I'm going to go Tucker Kraft.
Yes, I had him on my list.
Right.
I think the Dubs injury helps that.
Yeah, that's that same situation like I thought with Reed. But I think Kraft as well. He's he's always a chance of like a long touchdown, like a catch and run. So yeah, I think he's an absolute beast.
Yeah, he's been looking better and better every week that he's played in that Packers offense.
The old Kraft singles.
The old Kraft singles. Tay, you got a wide receiver and a tight end. QBs are all gone. You can go there. Running back, you've still got. I don't have a running back yet, so you could take someone off Matty's team if you wanted to.
It makes most sense to go running back because I don't have to go quarterback because you guys both have one. The problem is it's an absolute pit of arseholes. That's the real...
Certainly is. Certainly is.
And there's kind of guys that have like question marks, not so much on them, but around them, like with different guys, whether they're going to play. So you're almost taking like a shot on almost injury around them. I feel like there's one guy that just sort of fits the bill for me because I've fucking talked this guy up for about 4 years, but it's never really quite happened for him and he always gets bloody injured. Oh, there's another guy that I've had on my list about 8 times in a row and just have never taken him because I've always had sort of the ick for whatever reason. Which way am I going to go? Fuck it, I'm going to Gus Bus.
Gus Bus!
I just think I find it hard to believe that J.K. Dobbins comes back and plays after that knee injury, and if he does, what does it look like? I just felt like Atlanta was the best matchup for some of these guys too. Like, there's other guys that like could have gone, but I think like that matchup's worse. I just think if Gus is there, and obviously J.K.'s not, I just think he's the lead back easily. And yeah, I just trust him to at least get a goal line touch and possibly get it in the end zone. So that's all I'm really needing this week because it's just a shit position this week.
Righto, it's round to me on the last turn. I got a running back and a tight end to choose for Matty. It's not like I could box either you out. You've both taken those, so there's not going to be too much mystery with it. He circled one main guy. I don't like the pick. So I definitely don't like it. I don't know. I know why he's done it. I understand why he's done it because the guy will probably the team will have a lot to do on the ground, but I also think that they will be behind. So just trying to throw the ball to catch up. And like he'd circled ETN, and I don't really. Okay, no, the Jags are going to have to be throwing the ball. It's all going. If Trev's playing, it's going through Trev, and it's not going to be on the ground through ETN. So, don't love that pick. I love another one he's actually picked that I think the guy has a little bit better matchup. To be honest,
I want to try and pick the third stringer that you brought up before, but I'll let you make the pick first. But I'll try and guess it.
Okay, you can do that in a second. The other guy is higher started, which I like. There's a bit more belief in him, and I think his matchup against. Oh God, actually, it's hard. I don't know if I should go with the third stringer. I don't want to do him in too badly. I don't want to seem like I'm screwing Matty over, but no, I'm just going to go with it, and we're going to have to lump it because running backs is a bucket of arseholes, as you said, Tay. So Matty's going to end up with Jalen Warren at running back.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's who I just spoke about. He's literally third on my list about the guy that's been on my list about 8 weeks in a row, and I've never picked him. Yeah. I don't know why. There's just something about him where I'm like, I know he's splitting with Najee, and I don't know. This is actually a decent matchup for him specifically because he's the passing down back. You would think it would be a shootout. So yeah. I don't care if the Bengals are good against running backs on paper. I feel like he's the better shot in that situation than Najee. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
I think so, and that was a bit of why I was leaning that way to start with. He like last week against Cleveland, he ended up with 11 rushing targets and 5 passing targets. So he had a pretty good week, and if he gets that kind of numbers if they're down again against the Bengals, then yeah, I think the numbers will be reasonably decent. So yeah.
Can I have a guess of who the third stringer was?
Go swing at it.
Jeremy McNichols.
Bingo.
Yep.
No.
Former Titan. It's a revenge game. It's because Eckler and Brian Robinson are both massive chance of missing. I'm pretty sure Eckler's like guaranteed because he's in concussion protocol, and Brian Robinson had that ankle injury look real similar to what Mixon did earlier in the year. So I think there's just an assumption that McNichols will be the only guy there. They'll have to sign someone else though because you can't just have one running back. So My only worry is that McNichols seems better in the passing game than the between the tackles. So I'm wondering if they bring back like a Rodriguez or something, and then he doesn't even end up the lead back. That was my worry with him. But yeah, I can see why people have interest in him.
Yeah, so can I. All right, tight end. Not going to beat around the bush too much. We've got
Please take are you taking your boy?
my boy. I actually hadn't thought of that. Like I said, I don't know what he started, to be honest. We can.
I have him on my list.
Is Noah Gray only 3%?
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go better than some of the ones Matty's got, to be honest. God, it's against the Raiders too. You know what, Matty? Too bad. You said I could have a bit of liberty. Here.
Yes.
You get Noah Gray, big boy.
Watch you dominate now after I talked you into it. I should have let you fucking go.
To be honest, I was gonna jam in with Will Disley again. So
yeah, that's so funny. We have like the exact same list.
Yeah, I just don't fancy the tight end for him against the Falcons this week. It's just the way they are. They've not really allowed too much against tight end, the Falcons.
Yep.
But what they have allowed sometimes does end up as big numbers, but not a lot of actual targets. So, yeah, he did poorly last week. So I just don't want to end him up that again. So there is a couple others there, and I reckon actually Noah Gray is probably better than the other ones he's got on that list. So there you go, Noah Gray.
Beautiful.
Get that up, you big boy. Tate, your quarterback.
I've got a rogue pick.
I just made a rogue pick.
And then I've kind of got two that are just a little bit more, pocket passery, just pretty standard. I just don't know if I want to take... I actually had this exact same thought last week. I was like, do I risk it on this guy? And I'm like, it's not really worth it because he's got a shit matchup. And I've talked about the way that this league scored. It's 4-point passing touchdown and 6-point rushing touchdown. And it's like made me want to like take a risk on a guy that's like known for being a good rusher out of the quarterback position, which is hard to get in a segment like this.
No, you got to pick Richardson.
Every rushing quarterback is
just talked him down.
Then I've talked it up so much, it's hard not to go. It is a risk. Fuck me, it is a risk and a half, but it's the kind of risk that could pay off when you're trying to catch a Matty C on top. Fuck it, I'm going Anthony Richardson. It could be so shit. It could be so bad, but again, like the Pats' defense is so bad. Like they are just getting torched by everyone that, I don't know, like I kind of feel like this could almost be a get-right game in the air and they're using it more in the fucking rush game. I'm just like, if he rushes for 80 yards and has one touchdown on the ground, it's 14 points straight away. I almost don't give a shit what he does in the air. So I'm just taking a chance. Fuck it.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no danger in him being two started, that's for sure. He's at 32% now.
Yeah, he was at 36 this morning now. Yeah, he's no one's going down. So
all these dudes are trending down, Tay.
Yeah, they all are. And that's what it is because we're looking at guys that are iffy anyway, and then all of a sudden all these bye guys are coming back. So it makes sense that they're going down.
All right, Ads, very last pick. You got to hit us with your wide receiver.
All right. There's two guys that I'm been tossing up. They're basically started in no leagues, but here we go. I think this is his moment to shine.
This is your moment.
This is his moment. Just a rookie. I think he hasn't had that big breakout game yet, but I reckon this could be it.
Second on my list, isn't it?
Xavier Leggett.
Yes. It's like we've seriously just printed out the same lists. He was number 2 on my list. Sorry, 3.
I'm going, man, and going to let Xavier Leggett, man.
I'll understand the fucking word says.
Oh, what a pick! I love the dude. Actually, I think he plays really well, and I think he can with the right offensive line, like in terms of quarterback play and the pass protections, all that kind of stuff at the Panthers. I think Leggett can be an absolute superstar in years to come.
Yeah, they're definitely improving. Like since Bryce has come back, he's definitely had more time in the pocket and he's playing a lot better. So I reckon this could be that breakout game for Leggett.
Yeah, awesome.
I like it. Yeah, Bryce played well last week, and like we talked about last night, Ian, it only gets better. Like playing against the Chiefs is one of the hardest matchups you could actually have. So it doesn't really matter who he plays from now on. It feels like it's going to be easier than the Chiefs. So I feel it was an opportunity for Leggett to sort of build his relationship with Young. And I guess the only query is like between him, Phil, and even David Moore, who fucking
where the hell did that guy come from?
That's the only concern for like
because I saw D Moore and I was like, I swear that guy got traded.
Yeah, exactly. he's taking a train over from fucking Chicago just to have a game.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's my only concern. But I like Leggett. Like I said, he was third on my list for this, so I feel like he's got a chance to build that rapport with Bryce. So yeah, I don't mind that one.
David Moore was actually an undrafted free agent that they signed, and I'd read a bit of a write up about him, probably week 8, and in that orphan league, which is just woeful because it's a 12-team super flex with 3 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. It's just, I don't know who set that league up, but it's an absolute basket case. There's nobody ever on waivers. And I read about this dude, so I'm like, whatever, I'll take a shot. He's getting 3 or 4 points, so it's gonna help me out somewhere. And then last week I had to play him, and then he gets 20. I had no other option because everyone was on bye. And I'm like, fuck it, who cares? He'll get me 7 points, maybe 20.
That's when the real magic happens, when you've got no choice. And sometimes you fuck it up when you've got start-sit decisions and you've actually got too much to pick from, whereas sometimes you just get forced into something and it's just like, I have no fucking choice here, and they just go off.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I haven't played fantasy for long, but that league has the most whack setup I've ever seen in terms of lineup. It's got the bench is 16 guys. It's something ridiculous. It's so deep for such a big league. Ooh. And then they've got waivers. Waivers go on every second day, and they start on Tuesday. So you're hitting waiver wire before the Monday night football games even kicked off. So it just blows my mind, and I'm going to have a word to about it because I'm just going to go, I'm paying money for this league, and I only did it because you're my mates, and this is crazy, and it needs changing. It was just nuts because no one does it either. No one trades because there's no one to trade for. There's no one picking up people on waiver wires. It's just, it's like, no, this doesn't work. That's why dudes want to leave halfway through the season.
Even in a paid-for league, people want to leave.
Yeah. One guy had the shits weeks ago, and just this week he's just like, I'm definitely out after this season. I'm like, fucking all right.
Meanwhile, we've got Astro League that's in its fucking 30th season, and I feel like we've had 5 different people leave in the 30 years. It's just been insane.
I think because you guys hit a really good format in terms of 16-team Superflex, but there's only a 4-man bench.
It's made it interesting. I think what we all say that is every year it's so fucking hard sometimes that it makes it hard. Only 6 teams out of the 16 make the finals and everything, so it makes it an accomplishment if you get to even the finals. And it's kind of had its history. Obviously, it's got the trophy and everything, but because it's been around for so long, it's not even about money. I remember when I first won it, 3 years ago now. I kind of cared more about winning that than I cared about winning some of my money leagues. Because it felt like it was this thing that I'd been chasing for so many fucking years that when it happened, I was more interested in that than a league I may have won $150 or $200 in my winning. It just because it was a new league. So I just feel like that's part of it. It's chasing that glory of fucking being in a league for 5 to 10 years and not getting it.
But I feel like because you've only got a 4-man bench too, there's always someone on a waiver wire. You can pick up people. Then it means you can trade. You can trade with other guys. But it's better than this one. Trust me. When you got a 12-man bench or something ridiculous in the super flex
league. If there's that many teams and the bench is that big, it's just fuck. The 4-man bench makes it hard in terms of holding anyone, but it at least makes the waiver wire less like a homeless man's arsehole. At least it gives us the chance that there's going to be someone there. But
mate,
with 12 people on everyone's bench, everyone would have the third stringer. You wouldn't be able to get someone's backup.
Mate, I've still got Kenny Pickett in the lineup on the bench because there's no reason to ditch him because there's no one to replace him with.
Yeah, that's point. Yeah,
that's no point. Anyway, let's recap our starts teams. Adam got Kirk Cousins at QB. Xavier Leggett at wide receiver, Rico Dowdle at running back, and Tucker Kraft at tight end.
I like the Dowdle was a great 101. I honestly think he's going to go awesome.
Ooh,
Tay has, that's big. Let's see. Tay got Anthony Richardson at QB, Keenan Allen at wide receiver, the Gus Bus at running back, and Gadget Taysom Hill at tight end.
Carry me, Taysom. Carry me.
He's called the double QB stack.
That's a superplex, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently. And Matty's team this week that I have chosen for Matty: Matt Stafford, Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, Jalen Warren at running back, and I've tried to stitch him up with Noah Gray at tight end, but it's a better pick than any of the ones Matty made.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's fucking dominating at the moment, Noah Gray.
Yeah, so that starts of the week for this week. Adam's going to score a bucket load of points for World to get us back closer to Matty and Taylor, and maybe even come out on top. Let's get a win, I reckon. Get a win for World there, Ads. I'm going to go for it.
No dramas.
I actually really like your team.
This really is a boxing out Matty moment. Because if I don't win, I want you guys to win. I want Adam to win because someone's going to catch Matty. So I just want him to fucking lose. So he's so good.
I feel like we haven't really tried to box anybody out, though.
No, we haven't.
We've been way too nice.
Tonight.
Yes,
we've actually enjoyed ourselves.
We have. Absolutely, we have. And hopefully everyone's enjoyed listening to it. It's because we try and bring entertainment here at not just you guys on the fantasy show, but all across the Aussie Gridiron Network. So, as I said earlier, make sure you check out Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network for all the links to everybody, all the stuff. GDAY GRIDIRON, Aussie NFL Fantasy, Manzotch Pastry Press NFL, where you'll find a whole bunch of local league stuff on Aussie Gridiron today with Manjot and Matty C. They will have done some pretty cool commentating, I'd say, by the time you are listening to this show this weekend. They're in the thick of commentating for ACT American Football League. God, I've got to get that whole scenario out at the moment. So, yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed listening. And until next week, when you will hear my voice again, because I'll be back for Starts and to give both these boys hell. Hooroo!
Hooroo.
Thanks, Adam.
Cheers. No dramas.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
It's none other than Taylor Stun Gun Goodall.
It's almost like it was written in the stars that Matty C was going to get mouth AIDS this week.
He should have seen it coming, to be honest.
Aussie
Who makes up these fucking names?
It's a big fuck you to them. I love it.
Matty was high on it too.
NFL.
I went from a bucket of arseholes at running back to a bucket of arseholes at wide receiver. They just swapped.
So I just thought I'd bring that out there just to give him shit.
I know. Kirk Cousins at the lettuce sandwich.
Literally does everything.
He literally does everything.
Fantasy.
There's two guys that I'm been tossing up.
But it at least makes the waiver wire less like a homeless man's arsehole.
We're going to reach deep into the mailbag.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Problem is, it's an absolute pit of arseholes.
Get that up, you big boy. We try and bring entertainment here.